Good morning all. How you doing out there? Cheers. Come down here for my morning coffee today and thinking I need to make a video because it's been bubbling all week. I was thinking about the life of Gerry Anderson and I want to talk about it a bit. I want to talk about him a bit. And I don't want to turn it into a tearjerker. I just want to celebrate him and his influence. He was very brave. He was very, very brave. I put that first in characteristics because although he wasn't brawn, strong, I guess, physically, he was very brave in everything he did. He stood for what he believed in it, and that's sorely missed because it's a valuable asset to have. That's why he was so popular. He had the gusto to basically charmingly tell management or whoever that he was going to do what he was going to do. I bet you know what I mean. He would play music that they don't want him to play, and he played music of mine, and I'm very thankful for him for that. That's how I got to know him. That's how I know him. So if he didn't do that, I probably wouldn't have had a lot of experiences that I had. I'll go back way back. The first time I met Gerry was on Radio Foil, surprisingly enough. On Radio Foil I had a thing with a few school friends. We went to a competition for Dave Dugan. And the three of us went down and recorded our poems in the studio, right? And it was a great experience. The whole thing was just a bit of a masterclass, really, to be honest, because I'd never felt silence in that way. And inside the studio was so crisp. Everything was just moving towards creating this audio project, right? I'm not talking about my poems, I'm talking about the whole radio station in general. And Gerry was a massive part of that. You could see his pro attitude with everything he did, he was smooth on air, and also just the way he operated the machinery and stuff. I remember just looking at him. I was only about 12. And I remember looking at him and just thinking, this guy's a pro, this guy knows what he's at. And he was on TV as well. He had an ad for K-Woods Coal. I don't know if they're still going, but he had an ad for K-Woods Coal at the time. And he had about that, TV celebrity about him. So it was a good experience. But after it, this is what stuck with me. After it, well, the whole thing stuck with me actually. But after, I remember he came out to us. We were all in the lobby after, right, looking at the wall or whatever, and at all the musicians. And Gerry comes out and he's jumping and he's all excited and he's going on about these poems that we did, and I remember just thinking to myself, wow, this guy is basically the star of this place, for want of a better term. I don't know what else to describe it, but I'm thinking to myself, he is going out of his way for us. We're just coming in and reading our wee poems, and then we're off, and he's thinking, he needs to go and do this for us. That's something special, if you ask me. My poem was about my granny, about visiting my granny, and it seemed to affect some of the older ones a bit because it brought them back to childhood, I think. And having to go and visit your granny and not really wanting to, there's a bit of honesty in there that I think appealed to Gerry. And that was the same with the music as well. I think that appealed to him for that same reason. I never tried to be brutally honest or anything, or tried to expose any lies or anything, or any thing that was corrupt or wrong. I just always had that spirit of truth on me, and that was just the way I wrote. And I think it appealed to Gerry. I think he really liked it. Because he would big me up to people on the radio. I can't remember him like talking to people like Phil Coulter, and like Phil Coulter's basically the Mozart of Derry, you know what I mean? He's a highbrow musical artist, and Gerry would be saying to him after he played one of my songs, he'd go to him, "What do you got?" And Phil Coulter would be like, "That's all right." You don't know what they say, but you know that was the way it was. It would be the same to whoever he was talking to. You know, he had a very strong consistency to him. So it wasn't put off by the fact that Phil Coulter was, you know, world renowned. He just treated people all the same. I think that's a great quality to have. And, you know, he would talk the same about you on air as well as he did off air. And he would talk the same, you know, in how he bigged you up and made you feel confident, you know. So it's a great asset to have. He had a truth on him. That's a yearning for truth. He was a truther before there was a truther. He was not religious, because he kind of came after that period, I think. And his youth, he went to Christian Brothers and that, and then he ended up associating that with what, you know, what following God is. But he wasn't religious in his life, and then he wasn't like a theorist either, a conspiracy theorist. He just had a yearning for truth. He had a yearning for people that were real, and he was a real one. But he had to do it in a showbiz way, so he did it very, you have to be a genius to walk out line. You have to be a genius. He did it in a way that was smooth and kind of unnoticeable in a way, because he's basically he's not belonging to either camp exclusively, but he belongs to everyone. You know what I mean? That's the line that he walked, and he did it expertly. You know, he did it expertly, because after I saw him on the radio the first time, he was, you could tell he was, you could honestly tell he was like different class, right? And then he got a job over in Radio 4, didn't he? And then he went over and did that whole Anderson Country thing. And he suffered over there for different reasons, didn't he? I think it kind of made him in a way. It made him very thick-skinned, and he was able to come back to Radio 4 then and handle anything. I think he could handle anything. Now, politics in Northern Ireland is always going to be tricky, and there's always going to be people that's going to not like what you got to say, especially if you're as open and honest as Gerry is. So he was able to handle all that after the Radio 4 experience, which mightn't have seemed like a positive thing at the time, but it turned out to be. I think it turned out to be, you know. And it was also a bit of a he suffered on it. It wasn't religious. He's not religious, but it was a bit on that element, because he was voted the most hated man in Britain at one point. Now that was because Radio 4 hung him out to dry, though, in my opinion. Radio 4 hung him out to dry because they wanted to change the landscape of the channel, but every time they tried to change something, the viewers would go on the uproar, and they would, you know, phone in and complain, and I don't know, just march in the streets. And then he was brought in after doing an audition that he said he didn't really even try for. So, you know, he got the job, right? And then they basically had a situation on their hands then where if it went well, it was okay for them, you know, great. If it didn't go well, it meant that they could then bring someone else in who would still be a radical change. So I think he got hung out to dry a wee bit there, but at the same time, the experience did him well in terms of building his character, because I mean, you'd have to have a very thick skin to do that. Let's be honest. You have to have the thickest, you know. But that was the durability of the man. He was that exceptional. He was elite broadcaster, and you know he knew he was good. That was it too. He knew he was good, so he stuck to his guns. You know, he would be in that situation thinking I'm right, and you know what, he was, because he ended up coming back to Radio 4 and having the best show ever. They had him on a show that was nationwide in England, and England and Ireland are very, very different environments, very different places. I mean, they're beside each other, but that's where it ends, you know. They have the same language, but even the way they use it's different, the way they speak's different, the words, everything. So he was in a situation where he probably couldn't really win, you know. He probably couldn't win. So, but it meant he came back to Radio Foil, and he was able to put people like me and lots of other people on the radio, which was great for getting the royalties, the radio play royalties, and for getting exposure. I ended up doing features on albums that I probably would never have done if I wasn't on Gerry's show. And you know, that suited me down to the ground. I had some great experiences just because of him. I'm sure there's plenty of others could say the same too, you know. He had the gusto to play whatever he thought was good, because to him, if it was cool because it's cool, you know, and that's enough, and it should be, but not always the way, really. But he would stick to his guns. I can picture him just, you know, in a nice way, telling the manager or whoever's trying to control him that, you know, he's going to do it his way. That was him. He was spirit. He was spirit led. He was freedom. I don't know if he would like this era at the minute, because this is more the era, the dark side of duality. This is the control, being the control grid's getting ramped up. So the era that Gerry occupied was definitely a better time than now, to be honest. Look at the shape of this tree. Can you see a figure? It's only got one leg in the lower part, but you can see the two arms at the top and the kind of shaped head a bit, right? Anybody see it? There we go. Cut a bit of the arm out, but that's the body of it, and then the two arms up the top and the head. Like a statue in that. You see, people think you can only get shapes out of clouds, but you can get shapes out of trees as well. There's another one over there. That's interesting. Big fella, big hairstyle on him. Right, this one. Anyway, we're going for a walk here. I'm going to take you to a wee place up the top of the street, and I'll end the video on that. That's like it looked like is it like an antelope? You know, one of those deers, but like a deer, like an animal. But anyway, Gerry occupied a different time, didn't he? And it was a good time. It was a good time because he was here. More to the point, he made a massive contribution to it, and he was a massive part of people's lives in that slot in the morning. It's not the same without him, and nor should it be, because he was a big part of the culture here and should be remembered as such. Now, I said he wasn't religious, so I don't know if he liked me doing this, but I think he'll not mind it now, because now he'll see the spiritual realities of his life, the suffering he went through, the recovering he did. He walked a Christian life in a lot of ways, and so when he gets to the gates of heaven, let's hope that they're open, because I want to see him again. And if heaven has a radio show for the mid-morning slot, I think it's got his name all over it. That's where he did his best work there, isn't it? That's where he did his best work. Gerry, it's time to say goodbye. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you soon. Slán go fóill maharja. Arrivederci. Bonsoir. Goodbye.